Welcome, everyone, to episode 113 of Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. Today, I have the extraordinary Cardsy B, and she is here to tell us about her wonderful, extraordinary journey, as well as her new book, The Saturn Diaries, a grimoire. And also, as we continue, we're on the 6th month of the Empowered Through Purpose year, and I am so happy to bring you June with the Magical Guide to Bliss and Embrace Your Joy, because it's about time. The summer's here, and nothing more pertinent and more important than to look around and experience the joy in the present moment. And I know I'm going to experience it this afternoon with Cardsy B. So without further ado, we are here to celebrate Cardsy B. She's a writer, intuitive tarot reader, and healing catalyst. My favorite kind of people. Before we start, we always get intentional about the interview today. Today, we actually were going to have an episode based on Look Beyond the Imperfections. Today, we're changing because the day falls on Share Your Joy. So even better, I like the theme much better for us. And I know that there's going to be a lot of joy shared. As we set our intentions today, you guys pick between your Magical Guide to Bliss, which page you want for this particular episode, match it with the intention you have, and away we go. So without further ado, I introduce Cardsy B to all of you. Her real name is Rebecca Szymczak, and she, like I said, is known as Cardsy B, a writer, intuitive tarot reader, and healing catalyst. Her work has been featured in MTV, Nylon, Shape, Bustle, and the Zoe Report. She quit her fashion career to dive deeper into her intuitive gifts after experiencing a deep, dark night of the soul. She now uses tarot to guide clients, including celebrities, C-suite executives, artists, and entrepreneurs, to their own inner knowing and healing abilities. That's so amazing. In addition to creating her signature tarot deck, Badass Bitches Tarot, Cardsy B is also known as the host of Hex and the City podcast. The Saturn Diaries, like I said, was a modern day grimoire, is her first book. And welcome, Cardsy B. How are you today? This is so exciting.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Meg.
I think that the moon had to align in a certain way so that I could have you here today, because I think that we tried numerous times to make sure that we had the perfect theme for the both of us. And I think this one absolutely hits it exactly where it needs to be. So sharing the joy today with you. And I also, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for you too, because I think that I only shared Look Beyond the Imperfections. I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything that you're doing out in the world, and your journey with this wonderful book you put out there, the Saturn Diaries. It's your grimoire, your memoir. Why did you call it a grimoire? I'm just
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's actually a great question. So the title of the book, The Saturn Diaries, has to do with going through a dark night of the soul in my Saturn return. So Saturn returns to the place we were born every 27 to 31 years. So we have one for, 27 to 31 years old, a second one in our late 50s, early 60s. And if we're lucky enough, one late 80s, early 90s. And my first one, they always say, if you kind of get hit with the lessons in your first one, they become easier as we progress throughout our lifetime. And my first one was, I definitely got taken down by the universe by not listening to the things that, the signs that were being shown. And so this is kind of the memoir of the healing that came about as a result of that massive loss and transformation, and the healing tools that I discovered that really helped me through the other side. And the reason it's called a modern day grimoire is because a grimoire is basically a fancy word for spell book. So it is a magical journal of things like meditations, herbal elixirs, rituals that we can work with in our own healing journey. So I always say it can be read one of two ways. You can either read it front to cover as the memoir, or you can just go in and look at each title is chaptered based on kind of the theme of that chapter, and then there's a healing tool at the end of it. So a lot of people going back and like using the tools throughout as well.
And I love the fact that you're a fellow Sag on this journey, because I specifically love Sagittarius people. And I know that from all of you out there who are like, oh, that's so ridiculous, the silliness of the astrology or whatever. I don't care. I literally, every time I meet someone who is born in that time of year, there is an alignment there. And when I read your memoir, I could totally see, we're very magical beings as is, but it's so profound, that deep introspection that our life, like you said, in your Saturn journey or Saturn,
Yeah.
that it throws to you. And I think that somehow the gods must think that we're more qualified to handle that kind of crap. Honestly, I look around and sometimes I'm just like, why am I the only one? Sometimes I'm like, this is really kind of nuts, because at the end of the day, it feels like these things would take down the normal, I don't know, the normal person in society.
Well, they say that Sagittarians are like the natural optimists and the seekers of the zodiac. And I think that might have been one of the questions I even asked after seeing when we first connected. I saw you speak on a panel during the Miami Book Fair. And I loved your energy. It's contagious. It's very like calmly assertive, where I feel like you are such a beautiful teacher and a guide, because you have a lot of joy and gratitude, but you also, it's apparent that you've lived through what you are sharing. And I think that was one of the first things I asked you was like, what is your sun sign? And I was like, of course you're a Sag, because yeah, we're kind of like the seekers that we're like, I want to learn all the lessons, and we're able to look at it from a sense of optimism of there's a reason why, even in the darkest of times.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And the same thing for you is like watching you and seeing you share, even the way you packaged your book with pink pages. I mean, I'm like, come on. This way, I was like, literally, my sister and I always had this thing. If you got to do life, why don't you do it fun and pretty and with a magical pizzazz? So when I see other people like embracing that, that really is the way you experience life in a joyful way, how you show up authentically to the world. And it's definitely more fun for sure. And, certainly that was the same thing. And when I was, privileged to attend your book launch here in Miami too, it was really exciting to see who was surrounding you and what kind of energy you brought into the room as well. Because like you said, and actually what it speaks to in your book is you have a deep healing energy that you had to heal yourself, and then you're able to be a vessel for others, which I think is really like, it's funny because this last weekend we were talking about that. I go, you can't be good for others unless you really do put the oxygen on yourself, for sure, right?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting that like this was originally supposed to be an episode on embracing imperfections, because I feel like, I don't know if this was the case for you, definitely for myself, for many of my clients throughout end of April to May, through that like eclipse season, the most intense Mercury retrograde of 2023. Like thankfully we're on the other side of that. But a lot of just like unexpected challenges, they like triggers and traumas from the past reappearing. And I think through that, like you're saying, being able to face that with a sense of authenticity and like understanding that even those challenges, like, yes, we face them, but they don't, like, the lower energies don't define us. It's kind of how we meet them and how we take care of ourselves in them, of being able to heal ourselves so we can continue to move forward and be of service to others.
And I do believe in what, and to your point, is that like trickery, that like illusion, like, how am I back here again? How am I dealing with this again? Like, what is happening?
Oh yeah. I felt so much of that, especially throughout May and early June, of like, cause I think a lot of us, even those like you and I who like write and teach and guide, we're like, oh, we know healing is sporadic and that, we like, it's layers and layers, but you want to have that linear path. And then when we hit those points of like old triggers or traumas coming up, oh my gosh, I'm going back into that lower vibrational place that I was in and I thought I moved through. But often it's like, there's more lessons here. And I often find, I don't know if you find this too, when I get hit with them, it's so that I can help others that are facing them too. I'm like, okay, like we're on the front lines of experiencing this. So I have to remember what that's like, to be able to feel very much in that triggered state or in that traumatic state.
And interestingly enough, you have a similar journey, clearly not the same, but a very similar, as far as you have a very substantive fashion career. You were working with Playboy, you showed up in a world with celebrities, you mingled in that space, you knew who you were there. But it's like, okay, this is just kind of playtime, figuring out your foundationals and where like you can like feel, the skin you're in, and then you hit a wall, and then you're like, okay, there's something more, like really big, not just, this, but you take everything that you learn and bring it on. And, I want to go to the theme because I think it's really kind of cool, because the way this whole, intersects, joy is a net by which you catch souls. And that's Mother Teresa. And it's interesting because we are all healers. We've been through our thing. It's not the pain that we've gone through, but the joy on the other side of the pain, that we're able to catch other souls that are maybe going through their own dark night, of the
Yes.
soul. And it's kind of remembering the who you were and who you actually who you are, and how you turn that around, and transporting back to that place of utter delight and imagination and excitement as to all that's coming through you to bring that joy to others, even though it might be a dark time that we're experiencing right now. So back to you, which I love. In each moment we share the joy, we can find bliss. Is really, the word bliss is, like, as you know, my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. And then
Yeah.
even Butterfly Awakens, it's all around the concept of bliss. I love Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss component. Back to you. What are your thoughts on this whole sharing your joy, rather than, staying in the pain, which,
That is absolutely, and I think it's why you and I like connected on such an like instantly on such a deep
yeah.
level, is because many people have even said when reading the Saturn Diaries, there's a lot of dark moments. I struggled with suicidal depression,
Mhm.
addiction. I had planned to kill myself. Like there are places in the book that it gets dark. But what I love hearing is that people are like, I cried and laughed on the same page,
Yeah.
because I could even find the moments of like levity and small moments of gratitude, even in the darkest places. And that really taught me a lot about navigating just day-to-day life, of
Mhm.
the choice of where we focus that intention and that
Yeah.
energy. So I definitely
Absolutely.
love that your message and the theme of today of sharing your joy, because I had a client recently and she was like, I am in the dark night of the soul. I have hit my bottom. And I was like, that is the worst, but the best place to be,
Yeah.
because when we're there, it's just sheer surrender into there's nothing else to lose. So I can literally only go up from here. And
Mm.
that's where we choose what brings us joy, what does bring us gratitude.
So true.
And so even in the darkest of places, I think that like the focus on the joy and the even looking forward to the hope of receiving joy
Yeah.
is such a beautiful place to be in.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. And back to your beautiful book. I love the fact, and this is actually what gave me such great joy, because I'm a huge wordsmith, so I like to play with the words. And when you put out there forcing, I have never heard that word used in any context, to be quite honest with you. I'm always manifesting, but it's so interesting that when you think of that word forcing, it's so like against the effortless flow that we kind of want to jump into and like ride. So it's like this forcing energy that like literally is like at the end of the day. But tell me, who came up with that? Or is it your friend Chloe? Because I love that she says it too. So
Oh, yeah,
shout out to her.
what's so funny is that, like, it was just like, I started talking about my journey, and it's a term that I coined thereafter, like, on my podcast and in sharing my work on social media, and a lot of people did resonate with it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I do that," because I think there is such a fine line between manifesting, which is so powerful, and it's, like, the work that you teach and, like, you
Yeah.
empower people to step into of the inspired intentions and actions that allow that to flow in, which is
Yeah.
for our highest good. But then there's the manifesting, which is kind of like, this is what I want. I'm going to freaking make it happen. And like those of us, Sagittarians are great at it, because we're like the archer with the bow and arrow of like, I see it, I want it, I got it. And
Yeah.
I've done it in relationships that were not for my highest good. And definitely, I think we're rewarded for manifesting in corporate America.
Yeah.
So I was a global vice president of Playboy by the time I was 28 years old. I knew how to manifest like nobody's business. But I think that like untangling from, it's okay to have set intentions, take
Yeah.
inspired action and manifest. But like, where are we forcing against the grain that like, maybe there's a reason this isn't working out. Maybe there's a reason that the universe is repelling things from us, and that like is a redirection of where we're actually meant to go. And that's something that I think that there's a balance, because in the spiritual and metaphysical community, there's a lot of almost like do nothing and just like sit here and surrender. And I'm like, I will never be able to do that. But I also took it to other unhealthy extremes in my manifesting days, where I'm like, there is the balance of what does true manifesting look like. And I think you
Yeah.
teach that better than anybody.
It's interesting though. It's literally the points in time when you're like maybe forcing. I'm gonna quote you as that. And then you're like, nothing's happening. Why is nothing happening? What's happening? Like, why isn't this all coming to fruition? And there's a beautiful quote I love. Rumi says, kind of it's kind of a point to step out of your, just believe the universe is unfolding for your highest good. And I'm certain that everything is, keeping your mind on that, it's not easy. It's not easy, because that's like, oh, because like you said, the Sag, like, yes, I can make things happen. I make things happen. To maybe I need to get out of my own way right now, because literally this is exploding in my face. But to your point, a lot of in your book, and especially, oh my God, your tarot, like your tarot, how ingenuity is coming forth, how you created celebrities to play the different names on the tarot that, kind of resonates with so people who don't understand or maybe scared, literally scared by, the different forms that show up on the cards, maybe they're like, oh, this is like more resonating with me. I can understand this. And I can see, I think there's a lot of talismans, right? We all have these tools that help us focus, perhaps get more intentional. So tell me a little bit. Well, I mean, you got to read the actual book to know how she came to the point where she created this. But tell us a little bit of how you brought yourself to a place where you're working in that magical component. Stay magical. I love the sign behind you, but about the tarot.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that I gravitated towards at a young age. So like age 10, 11, I was saving my allowance money, going to like the bookstore in the local mall and getting like astrology books and tarot decks. So it was something I personally believe I probably did it in a past lifetime because it was not in my family. Luckily, my parents were open-minded enough to be like, okay, she's doing this weird like astrology tarot stuff and, like played along with me. But then it wasn't as cool back then in the 80s and 90s as it is now. So I kind of just along the way, like fashion was cool and I followed like my path and my career. And it until I had that like really dark like breakdown, it was a tool that was free and I could pull a card a day to take me back to my intuitive inner guidance system. And so that's how I came back to it. And then as I started remembering like, oh, I was really good at reading, like this is something I'm good at. And it brought that confidence back of like, this is how I remember to connect to my intuition. And I started reading for friends and like old colleagues, and it kind of became a thing. And throughout that, I was explaining it in very accessible terms of like, I have this deck here on my desk. So it's like Oprah, for example, is the Hierophant in mine. So the Hierophant it's like, it's in the traditional tarot, it's like this old Pope figure, and it's supposed to be like the teacher of like soul lessons and life lessons. And in our day and age, it's like, that's Oprah,
I knew you were going to pull her out today. I just knew it when I was like, she's going to pull the Oprah card today. I show it to her. Like,
and it's a lot of the old imagery is very like, patriarchal, like olden times symbology that people either don't resonate with at all or don't even know what it means. So I was like, how can I break this down and make it less intimidating and be like, these are all archetypes, very much like referencing Joseph Campbell, who I also love. They're all part of the hero's journey. We come across these in our day to day. They're all parts of our life, of who we are, and how we show up. So I started teaching in that way. And then my best friend said, why don't you make your own deck? You illustrate, because I hand illustrated the cards. And at the time I was like, it's cool in theory, but sounds like a lot of work. And it just became a passion project because I was teaching small groups in New York City at that time. And I was like, if nothing else, I will teach with these cards and show up on Instagram to explain. And then people were like, I want a deck. And then a publisher approached me and it just kind of took off from there. And I didn't expect that to happen, but I was so grateful. It was like the opposite of mana forcing. I was just like literally following my bliss. And then it became, and now it's, sold globally in like bookstores and metaphysical shops all over. So it's really cool to see people on TikTok showing up with it. Or I was recently in Amsterdam and it's in a store in Amsterdam. And it's like, it's so cool,
Yeah, that is so amazing. And interestingly enough, I love that you said that, look, it was that this complete momentum, like the momentum towards something. It was so effortless, but not effortless. Obviously you had to sit down but there was passion. It was your passion project. You were getting into it. This is something that you wanted to do. And it became to the point where you were actually able to jump. And now you have an Instagram page where you read every day, which I love to follow. It's always very interesting. It is at Cardsy B, right?
Yeah. Everything's just CARDSYB. Everything's at Cardsy B. So mostly I built my platform on Instagram because I've been doing it since like 2018, 2019 on there. So that's where the like biggest amount of my content is. I also have the same Cardsy B on TikTok, and my website's cardsyb.com. But I do free energy updates every day with like the card of the day and how to expect that we can see that playing out, tying in with the card that's pulled and also the astrology that we're moving through.
I wanted to ask you, do you see a change in you? I mean, I know the book says you do, but I'm just asking you specifically, do you see a different, like when you look at yourself in the mirror, do you see a different you looking back now and like, here we are, I've missed you, like I found you again?
Yeah, I think I'm much softer and much more playful. I mean, I'm definitely like, again, I'm a Sagittarius sun, so I'm a doer and a go-getter by nature, but I think I had a much more like masculine hard edge. And I think that I'm like, like it's that part of myself, like that little kid that loved to play with tarot cards and loved to
Yeah.
draw. I was always drawing as a kid too.
Love
So
it.
it's funny, even though I like did well in school, my parents wanted me to go into law or business because I was valedictorian. I ended up in fashion design because I still I love that creation aspect, which obviously plays into my business to this day of like
Yeah.
illustrating my tarot deck, all of my branding, everything.
Amazing.
And I think I was able to come back into that, like the playfulness of
Yeah.
that and unapologetically where I just show up as me because I think that being in the work that we are now,
Mhm.
there's no right way to do it. And there
Yeah.
are not parameters the way that like, you being a lawyer, being like in that field, being in corporate fashion design, there's definitely like a way and a path. So I think that it's sometimes like, oh my goodness, overwhelming, but it's also very freeing of like there's no right or wrong way to show up. So just
Yeah.
show up as yourself, you know?
It's so funny. I have to share this with you because when I was a child, I wanted to be a fashion designer. Like that was all my parents were like, you're never going to be able to make a living as a fashion designer. You need to be a
Yes.
lawyer or a doctor. Yes. Like it's not going to happen. Don't be so crazy. Like hold it. Like they love me. They wanted to see me be able to support
Totally.
myself. It wasn't out of like, like silly little girl, dream less, naysaying away. No, it was just like they literally had like after like a while, like really had an interest in me, seeing me, be independent in the world and be able to survive. And the interesting thing is, in many ways, here we are. Like it's
Yeah.
like a full circle moment. Like here we are. And I'm curious as to how I mean, I know in the book what your parents say, but like how is your relationship with your parents now?
Yeah, it's so crazy that, like, both of us had the same like, because mine was either literally, like, law or fashion design. Because it's, like and that's both, like you can see that in both of us
Yeah.
because we're both very verbal, but
Yeah.
also, like, love, like, the beauty and the creation,
Yes.
and, so that's it's so interesting about you as well, and I think that my parents similarly, they just wanted me to, like, be supported and be like, have abundance and security, but
Good wish for your kids. It's
yeah,
a good wish for your
exactly,
kids.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that, as I like excelled, and it almost like pushed me to excel in fashion, like watch me, like, oh, I'm gonna do this by this age. I'm gonna be a global vice president by 28. I'm gonna like hit all these. So my dad was like slowly, like he was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, like good job. And I just wanted that so
Yeah.
badly. And I was actually terrified to leave fashion because I had proven myself there.
Yeah.
And it was this thing I still wanted to make my dad proud. And I remember him calling me when I was doing the 50-50 because I built a bridge where I was still freelancing with fashion clients as I was building my business. And for like, 2 3 years, I was doing both. And I remember my dad called me and was like, oh, he's like, they're going to offer you full time. And they did. They offered me this big, like full time, like global fashion director role. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if that's going to work out. And he's like, why wouldn't it work out? And I was like, because I'm going to decline it, But I remember even in that moment, and now, I mean, he's definitely so proud of me. Like he read the book and was like, and it was hard for my to share this with my parents because there's some darkness that I hid from them of like
Yeah.
in my addiction, in my extreme depression, that they never saw. And so it was hard to like share it with them, but they were both really proud. And it's so funny because my dad, he doesn't fully understand what, like, he's supportive, but he's like, I don't know how you do so well in doing this, but she knows things. And like he literally calls me when he has like a poker game of like, can you pull some cards? Let me know like where in the game I should like take risks or take not. It's funny. Yeah.
One of the things that I absolutely adored in your book is when you're like, you're looking for your signs. And I always look for my signs. Like, am I doing this right? Is this happening? And like, that's why I never push when people say, I need to cancel. This is not happening. It's for me, it's like, why argue with you? I mean, like you're being honest, like with this, but when you look for signs, like you passed, and there's like, a song or a sign
Yeah.
and the fact that you got your dog Lola on that, I was like, I think we all benefit from animal guides. They're like, they take care of us and they're these little tiny dogs and literally in their world they have a big job bigger than everything else because at its solid foundation they're the ones that are watching out for us the most. So I was like that, the Pomeranian, the sign, I was loving that. I love that very much. That was wonderful. So what has been a big sign recently that you've had that you're going in the right direction, that you're on the right path?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I get a lot of mine. I don't know how you receive yours, but I get a lot of like songs and auditory
Yeah.
things. And I was actually recently just doing a like meditation, like a journey, a healing journey, and this song came on. It's called Circle of Women. It's beautiful. It's like it's used in a lot of shamanic healing, like plant
Yeah.
medicine.
Yeah.
And I just had like a really beautiful moment with it. And I remembered it was even I wrote about it's funny because I had a breakthrough with it in my book that I wrote about that song. And it's not that well known. It's not a Grammy award winning song, but it reminded me not to be less hard on myself about certain projects of mine because I'm like, okay, like my book, it's like, not necessarily like at this moment in time a New York Times bestseller, but I'm like, oh, people are receiving healing. And like that
Yeah.
song kind of humbled me where we get caught up in like these numbers and these sales and like the
Mhm.
titles of things. And I'm like, oh, as long as it has healing codes that people are accessing,
Yeah.
it's doing its job. And
Yeah.
that was something that I so needed that I was like, oh, I've been putting all these like outside matrix numbers and sales and rankings pressures on
Yeah.
myself. And like, as long as the healing codes are reaching people, that's all I care about. That's what it's here to do, you know?
I absolutely agree. I think that, I mean, yeah, sure. It's nice to, get tons of reviews, and it's nice that it's important people are reading. But I can tell you this from my experience since I began this whole process in writing. People are reading your stuff and they're not telling you. It's
Yeah.
like, and they're looking for you, and they're like, when you don't show up, they're like, where have you been? Where did
Yes.
you go? You're like, I didn't realize anybody's like watching all of this or hearing all of this. And they're like, no, 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 you must continue. But clearly it's always, and my big, and I don't know if this is for you, but the external approval element, like I
Yeah.
need that external, and it's very cool how when you step aside and you're just like, okay, yeah, no, I don't need it. If I'm helping people from the place of where my intention with that, it's so important. So I would love to bring your inspirations. Obviously, we all get inspired by many different things. And one of the things I love about my show is that my guests share with me certain quotes that inspire them. And we'll start with yours. Of course, it's Madonna. And like I said, read her book, you'll understand why. But no matter who you are, no matter what you did, no matter where you've come from, you can always change, become a better version of yourself. Madonna, go for it, Cardsy. What does this mean to you? And why did you pick this one?
You know what? Because I think that we and my whole book, it doesn't matter if you're in a Saturn return or not. Like it's kind of if you've ever experienced a massive ego death. You left a
Mm,
relationship and you thought that partner or that marriage
love that.
defined you. You left a big job or got let go, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was the first thing I said about myself was that title or that company.
Yeah.
And I think that no matter what age we are, no matter how established we thought we were in something, we always have the chance to evolve and grow. And having all of those things ripped out from me, and I know many people, especially from 2020 to today, have had those
Yeah.
big tower moments and those ego deaths. And it's like at
Yeah.
any point we can choose to become a better version and a more evolved version. And I love Madonna for a lot of reasons, but I love that's one of my favorite quotes of hers.
Well, she definitely keeps evolving into a better version of herself. Once you think that you can't, go any further, she keeps doing it. And it's amazing. I love her too. And, she's obviously part of my youth, but I do love this quote because even you feel bad yesterday, that was yesterday. Today is the present, and you can be a better you today. And I love that. And I love the fact you guys got to get her book. I'm not going to, I don't like giving like things away, but it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful awakening. It's a beautiful becoming more of who you are. And of course, you have this beautiful quote from your book. I always thought source, the universe, my higher self would sound like a firm British lady or maybe Morgan Freeman. Okay, you got to explain this one. But this just sounded like a calmer and more confident version of myself. Maybe that's why it's so hard to hear, let alone trust, when I hadn't felt calm or confident in a really long time. This is directly from your book, The Saturn Diaries. Okay. I love the fact that you think that your higher self is Morgan Freeman, okay?
Yeah.
A British lady who could be Morgan Freeman if you ask me, but tell me a little bit about what this means to you.
Well, I think that like when we've been disconnected from our intuition for a long time of like, oh my gosh, I've been listening to the outside voices of either like my boss, what I'm supposed to be from a like, a work career standpoint or from a partner. And you're like, I even forgot. I've had so many clients say, like, I forgot what brings me joy. Going back into
Mm,
the joy piece of it of like, Like I knew how to like appear as joyous on Instagram, but I forgot what really lit me up. And I think that it can be hard to be like, wait, how do I connect with that? And when I was at that point where I was so far from my authentic self, I was like, what does that even sound like? I literally thought it was going to be this like narrator voice of like Morgan Freeman coming in and be like, okay, I'll listen to that. That can be trusted. But then I was like, oh, it just feels like me feeling calm and peaceful in my decision of like, that's what it is. And like when you were saying, it's however we get our signs, whether it's through songs, whether it's just through like a sense of knowingness of like, that feels right. I don't even know why. I don't have to justify why. I know that feels right. And that can be, it's almost like when you first learn to meditate or when you first learn to ride a bike, it's hard to describe the feeling of knowing you're in the flow with it. And that's why it's like, I think that people are waiting for this big, like, oh, that's when it's turned on, is when Morgan Freeman comes in and he says it. It's like, no, it's you. It's the most peaceful version of you that's guiding you.
Yeah, you know, and if for fun you like look in the mirror and you talk like a British lady, maybe that maybe that makes you happy, and that is your piece. I don't know, but I love that. I think that's perfect and to the point. You know, it's not this scary, you know, and there is, you know, Moses or whatever that is. It is you. It is your voice saying, it's okay. I'm here. All is well. I love that. I loved when I read that. And okay, you're not somebody's maybe. You're somebody's abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, hands down, drop the mic. There you go. Right there. That's some wisdom to drop on the day. That's for sure. That's definitely sharing joy. So tell me.
That was actually like it was written in my book, but it was said by one of my best friends, Joey Healy. He's Andy Beals in the book. He proudly will like, you know, reveal himself. All of the names were changed because I was friends with like a lot of, you know, celebrities and people that would maybe not want to be revealed in this. But he had that like mirror moment with me of kind of like a look in the mirror because you're not somebody's maybe. Like this is not a relationship for you if you're a maybe in this. And I see so many of my clients being treated that way, whether in romantic relationships, with family members, with friendships. And it's like, until we hold ourselves to that level of self-love and self-worth, we can't expect it from others. But I think remembering that of like, no, that's not enough. And it's okay that that's not enough.
Oh, I love it. That is, and what a great friend. I mean, literally, when we can be with people who remind you who you are, and you're like, yeah. I go to a spinning class, and he always calls me Megan the Stallion, and I was like, you know, she's totally bad at yada yada yada
Yeah.
yada. But I was like, you know, it kind of empowers you to say yes. Remember who you are. Remember and take your power back. And I love that. You're abso-fucking-lutely for sure. And then the only people for me are the mad ones. Oh, I love this quote so much.
I love it.
The ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. Jack Kerouac. Oh, thank you for putting this one up here because I love it.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, those are my people. And it's what I remember. I think you were maybe 2-3 minutes into your talk at the Miami Book Fair. And I was like, I need to know you. I want to know more about you. I want to read what you're writing. I want to be a part of your world because you have that passion. And that's really what lights the path for others. And that's so important to me and the people I'm friends with and the people that I, you know, invite into like my soul family, my inner circle, even on like my wedding finger. If I ever get married again, that's what I have mad to live. Because I'm like, that's what I'm seeking is someone who is mad to live, you know?
Fantastic. Oh my God. And the fact of the matter is, you know, the word mad can be in a negative connotation. Not here. Mad here is like, yeah, that's like very positive, very empowering, very, you know, life filling, like air breathing, you know, come on, you know, like this is really like why we're here is to have conversations like this and to tap into other people's sources who can be those beacons of light to kind of guide us on our way to our purpose or on our path. And maybe if we're lost a little, and they just, you know, like your friend Joey, like bring you back. I see you. You're not going to go far. Maybe you need a little bit of time to like just realize that, you know, you hit your rock bottom and you want to come back, but I'm here for you. And I think that in many respects, if we really kind of evolve in our lives, you know, and share the joy, when we take ourselves and bring ourselves with others helping us to another place, then we can like you said with your clients, you can turn back around and say, I got you. We got this. There's a path here and we will find it together. And that's been very paramount for the healing process for you, I'm sure, for who you heal, for those people who are going to say, thank you, Cardsy B, you know, thank you, like they do, like sending you emails, all of that, all the above. Thank you for truly stepping into that path so you can be a healer to others. So one of the things about the hero's journey is, right, that you have to kind of believe that you are the hero or the heroine of your journey. And in what point in time did you start to realize that? Like, did you start to say, okay, yeah, I am, that is it. I am, it's me. I get in the way of me, or I give myself the path.
Yeah, I think that, and I think this is common, especially for women that are highly empathic and
Mm,
intuitive themselves, where we want to be of service to the people, and especially in our immediate life, right? Of like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I feel their needs like they are my own, and I want to be able to serve that. And after I went through kind of that like massive breakdown and came through the other side, I started to realize if I was able to heal myself and live with purpose and with joy, it's absolutely the theme of today, that's going to have a ripple effect to more people than me just fixating on one person at a time. Because when I was unhappy, what I would do is date someone who was very needy, who needed a lot of me, and I'm like, oh well, I'm healing her, so this
Yeah.
is great. Like I have a
Yeah.
purpose. I am like I have a lot to do because she gives me a lot of things to take care of. But I wasn't really doing the work on myself, and in doing the healing work, and that's a constant like ongoing journey for me. Like I said, I just sat in a ceremony for like 8 hours last weekend to come back into my heart.
Yeah.
And the more that we do that, the more we actually really have an effect on a greater amount of people. And the people that are like closest to us, our family, our, our spouses, our kids, everyone that is in our day to day, like the higher we're able to like raise our vibration through our
Yeah.
own healing, the better we show up for them.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And you know what? One of the things I'm curious about, certainly because you've been so beautifully able to share your journey in such beautiful, like, how did you come to Life to Paper Book Festival? I know that that's where we met, the whole Tabitha connection, which I love Tabitha. She's got an incredible energy too. I know it's in your book at the end that you actually showed up for a presentation, but I was curious because I know she's from Canada. You were in New York at the time, and then you had come down to Miami. How did that connection? I like always like curious as to how the path unfolds, because they are your publisher for your book, and I'm so grateful that they did do that with you, because it's wonderful.
Yeah, so it was actually so serendipitous, and that's where I do believe in signs and symbols and kind of being guided by the universe, narrated by Morgan Freeman or not,
Yeah.
because I was asked to speak. I met her through a friend because I had lived in Toronto. I went to Ryerson. I lived in Toronto for a long period, and a friend was like, "Oh my gosh, I know this woman. Like she's in publishing. She's from Toronto. I think you guys would love each other." And then we met, and she had asked me to speak just on tapping into intuition through tarot. Even though they didn't publish my deck, she was like, "You have a deck. You're welcome to sell it at our festival and kind of speak." And it was so cool. It was like the event was just completely packed and did really well. And it was my first like post COVID event too. So I had been doing everything digitally, but I was so nervous because I was like, there was a room of like, I don't know, like 50 or 60 people. And I hadn't done that in like a couple years because it had been a while since,
Yes.
since speaking live in New York. And it just was a really beautiful event and well received. And then she came up to me after and was like, I had shared part of my story and how the deck was created. And she said to me, "This is such an incredible story. No pressure to publish with us, but I think you need to write it." And it was just like, it was one of those where I had been thinking about it and
Yeah.
it wasn't the right time. And then I moved to Miami and was uprooting my life. And I was like, yeah, I think I am ready to do that. And then from that point on, I think I wrote it, the bulk of it in like 6 months, worked with my editor through like to publish it to
Yeah.
like to paper. And yeah, and then that's how it
Okay,
came.
just so you know, 6 months is naturally unheard of with regards, especially in memoir. So clearly, you were in the effortless flow, because that's amazing. That really is. It's really just how from the beginning to the point of publication. That's pretty amazing. I have
It
to say.
was yeah, I truly believe it was channeled because I had tried before and I kept hitting blocks. And I remember even I had written a little bit of it before I moved to Miami, and my friend said to me, "Maybe you're still living your story." And that's why, because I was like, "I don't know, I'm stuck." And she was like, "I think more of your story is still being revealed." And that really kind of was the arc at the end of like why I'm here, how I got to here. I'm
Yeah.
the happiest I've ever been in Miami. Like this is like I'm so grateful to be here. It's like such like a part of my soul. So it definitely is a part of, it's part of the arc of the story. So I think that it was when I was in the right place in the right time. I just like it did flow. Like I mean, there was definitely blocks and challenges like we all have, but I'm grateful for that for sure.
So I love to ask the question, like, what's moving you forward in life? And I know that this part of your book, I just wanted to ask you about it, was the ayahuasca experience in Costa Rica. And I love that you did it, and I love that you shared it. And I am literally, it's for me. I don't think that will ever be a part of my cards. Knock on wood. Who knows? Tomorrow's bring, but interestingly enough, that you were completely trusting. You were trusting.
Yeah.
And were you always like that? And was it something that
Oh my
like,
God, no. It's doing plant medicine takes an immense amount of surrender to
yeah,
have a good experience,
yeah,
And I always tell everyone it's not by no means a magic pill or a magic, like it's if it's right for you, you'll be called to it and you'll know it. And I was at a place where I had one of my very best friends had passed away. Another friend died by suicide, lost all of my money. I literally had like 200 some dollars in my bank account at my lowest point, was like, planned to kill myself. And coming through the other side of that, as I was starting to creep my way back out, had like stopped drinking and Xanax, which were my two addictions. I was seeking healing and I was drawn to plant medicine. It was something I'm really interested in shamanism. It was something I had read about, seen certain things about, and it just kept showing up in my path. So, and then a friend of mine was like, oh, my friend produced this documentary. I don't know. It's kind of woo woo. You would like it. Like, not at all knowing I was even seeking that. And it kept showing up of like, hey, I think this is for you. So I went by myself to Costa Rica, and it's something that old me, like if I would have shown that scene to myself in a boardroom at Playboy, I would be like, hell no. Like, oh my God, you stupid bitch, don't get on the plane. Like, save that money, buy a handbag, And so the fact that I did, but it was just this immense amount of surrender of like, I'm ready to crack open more deeply than I ever have and see anything I need to see.
wow.
And that for me was I mean, there's a lot on my journey, obviously, that I've like changed the way I eat, what I put in my body, that I don't drink or use like controlled substances. But I feel like that was the thing that was the amount of surrender it took, and the amount that I was open to receiving healing, I think was even more than the medicine, So
No, absolutely. I walked the Camino on my journey, and that was literally the thing that broke me open, is that physical surrender to what the hell am I, like you said, like, what the hell are you doing? One of the things I do absolutely want to share with you regard to your journey is, like, we all manifest, and clearly you're manifesting this life that isn't meant for us. It's really manifesting. You have a beautiful experience every day. You give everybody healing wisdom. You work with people that you help heal, or you're a part of their process. What are some tools that you can share with all of us that we might be able to take with us, from your toolbox, that would help us level up our lives or become more of who we are?
I love that question. And that's definitely my whole intention behind the Saturn Diaries is I think every part of our day we have the power of choice and the power of intention. And even like the kind of the healing tools in the book, they're a little more simplistic in the beginning and they get more advanced. And what the first thing is an intuition latte. And I talk a lot about like what herbs have healing properties from a medicinal and a metaphysical standpoint. So cinnamon stabilizes the blood sugar, but it also like opens up intuition. So every day I put that in my latte, and I kind of am like, I stir it 3 times clockwise of like calling in the best use of my intuition to be as open as possible and be able to use that for my highest good and to heal as many people as possible. So little things in our day that don't have to be, oh my gosh, I'm going to set up an altar with all the candles and all the crystals. It can be literally sprinkling in cinnamon and stirring it with intention. And that's kind of one of the things that I've realized is we have those small choices every day. And when we lean into them, we really do see how they show up. Yeah.
I do. I love that. And also, like she said, at the end of every single chapter in her book, Saturn Diaries, she has these kind of tools that are going to help you elevate or become more of who you are, just by virtue of the intentions behind them. And they're all labeled, and they all have, like, I love your gratitude. Certainly that's one of my, like, that's like a superpower for, I think, anyone. But I saw the fact that you do use it as well. And I think gratitude is like really one of the things that could clear and focus you perhaps on the blessings in your life, rather than looking at the things that no longer serve you, and that you can let go. It's time. It's time. The other question I wanted to ask you is, as a Sag, I know I'm an extrovert and I need to be around people. And is your lifestyle now more secluded? Or are you more welcoming others in a different fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think I am such an extreme extrovert, and even if it's just, like, walking through the city in, like, Toronto, New York, Miami, like, that fuels me of, like, being
Yeah.
around that energy. I think that I've become more discerning because I've learned to appreciate my own company more.
I
So,
love
as much as, like, some of my, like, alone time will still be taking my dog Lola to, like, a restaurant and sitting outside at a cafe in Miami. I don't need the outside, like, oh my gosh, just have people around to distract me from my
Yeah.
own inner self. So I feel like I'm still just as much of an extrovert, but I think I'm more discerning in terms of who I share my time and energy with.
No, I love that. I love the fact that you use the word discernment because I think at the end of the day, we really need to be very cognizant of how we use our energy. And I think that for many of us, we forget that like we just kind of are at the will of others or the will of other choices. While we empower ourselves to make those choices as to how, where, and when we want to go to those places. So I love that you say that, and especially as extroverts, I do understand that you got to be careful of the energy you throw in. I'm not going down to downtown Miami today for certain reasons, and so like you got to
Yeah.
be careful where you share your energy. So like back to the outside of the interview, I asked you to set your intention and then pick a number and then perhaps share with us what the intention was and what the number in the Magical Guide to Bliss that you chose for today.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't look up what the number, like, relates to, though. Is that okay? Can I
Oh,
look it
that's
up
great.
now?
That's actually more
That's
synchronistic.
that's
So
how
what was your intention for today?
Okay, so my intention was to just open people up to accessing their intuition in
Mm,
new ways that they may not have heard, considered, but feel interesting and that are calling to them.
yeah.
So that was my intention, and then I picked the number 23, but I didn't look up what that. I have the book here.
Okay, so open it up and see what it says. This is like how I get like kind of my own like witchy magicalness.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. 23. Wait, hold on one second.
It's not the top of the page; it's the very bottom. It's
Hold
the
on.
actual
That's
page.
where okay, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, where's the number? Okay, 23. Follow the cheerful ones.
Ah,
That's
I love it.
perfect.
I love it.
Oh my
That
gosh.
goes to your point with the discernment for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Magical key to bliss, seek out the ones who make you smile. I think that's so true. Yes, I love
I
that.
love that. That's awesome. I think that's really important for you too because you definitely beam smile energy and beam this really but I'm back to the point where you're saying before about the intuition and encouraging people to like kind of figure out what that is, what that guidance, like don't look to others to save you, save yourself. Be mad to save yourself, right? I
Yes.
think that is so I think it's a game changer. And
Mhm.
back to you, certainly the cheerful ones, it's much more exciting to be around people, that are in your life and point out those joys that you might want to share in, going back to the theme of the day for sure. So I love that. That is the intention matched up with the actual insight from Magical Guide to Bliss. I would love for you to share with everybody here today where we can find you because I think it's certainly important. You know, you have a lot of healing gifts to share, and I think that it's really important that people who need this and it resonates with them that they can find you and go back again. And I know you said you're on Instagram and it's at Cardsy B. It's CARDSYB. That is your Instagram handle. Go ahead and tell us what else you have available.
Yeah, Instagram, everything is at Cardsy B, TikTok, Instagram, cardsyb.com. I have a lot of free tools. So if you want a free energy update every day, that's on Instagram and TikTok. I have a weekly podcast that is Spotify, everywhere, podcasts are hosted. You can access Hex in the City for weekly energy updates and kind of what we're navigating energetically and astrologically. And then if you want to do more deep intuitive work, I do one-on-one sessions for readings. I also do intuitive coaching work as well. All of that's on cardsyb.com.
Oh, that's awesome. So I just want to make sure that everyone gets it. It's Spotify or where podcasts are all handled or held. It's Hex, HEX, and the City.
Yeah.
ANDTHE City, CITY. So it's just a play on the words with the Hex and the City. But check it out because I think that there's a lot of wisdom to be gained if this resonates with you. I know her book is amazing. I want to put it up here in the stream today. This is the Saturn Diaries. I mean, it has even pink paper. I mean, come on. Plus, I mean, she looks great in black as well. So even better. And you know, one of the things I definitely can't leave without you sharing with us, you know, today, what final inspiration can we take away from this conversation? I mean, there's so much. It went by too fast. There's so much you have to offer everyone. And I know for me, it's kind of like my you know, butterflies. It's time to wake up and just get ready to dazzle. And you know, I believe in you. But the reality is that I write inspiration and I meet people who are inspirational. So, what is your final inspirational hit for all of us today?
I honestly believe the biggest piece of inspiration that I've discovered and that I like to share is that we have all the tools within us. So
Mm.
even in terms of intuition, I love that I have the ability to like psychically see things and the most probable timelines. But most of my clients that work with me long term, they find that they are like accessing that within themselves so quickly. They're like, you know what, I didn't need a reading anymore because I knew
Right.
how to access that. I knew where it was showing up. And I think that in those moments of darkness or confusion, or even if it's just a little bit of stagnation, we have everything we need within ourselves.
No, I love that. I love that. I do want to point out though, if people are going through a really rough time and they're having, they're in isolation for some reason, that support groups are certainly really important. And I think that what Cardsy B also offers is an opportunity, if you do want to have the one-on-one, to speak to someone who'll give you a safe space so that you can be held in a place of love, because she is definitely, if not anything, a loving energy. To, you know, once you go through something and you walk that dark night of the soul and you bring yourself out to the other side, there is something called a real appreciation for love that surrounds you, and to feel that energy, that vibration, you know, knowing full well that that might be the only thing someone might need at the time, is just that safe, loving space to be heard. And I would definitely encourage you to contact Cardsy B with regard to that as well, on her one-to-one. And that also www.cardsyb.com. Reach out to her there as well. Okay, so I don't want to end this because I do love magical people and I want to take you home with me. But the bottom line is this: we've had really wonderful offerings today. There's so much wisdom. Thank you, Nancy, for being on the interview as well. Yes, this is a really cool interview, and what she does bring to the world is really cool. And her book as well, and I'm going to hold it up, is really cool. I mean, there's lots of stuff that you can gain from this book in so many ways. And the grimoire, and I have like the different tools at the different chapters, I think are fantastic. And you're definitely going to walk away, you know, getting a lot out of this book. For one, certainly her vulnerability and sharing her story is huge. And also the offering is even better. So I definitely encourage all of you to go grab her book. It's on Amazon as well as wherever books are sold. So go grab it. So before we go, oh my God. So I know there's so much. We share the joy at the outset of the interview. You know, what is your next? What's up for you next? What are you looking to do, or manifesting, not manifesting?
Yeah, well, I have a new course that's going to be coming out in the fall that is called Matrix Magic. So it's people
Ooh.
that are looking to make a change, whether from a job that they feel kind of stagnant in to something with more passion, whether that's working somewhere else or working for themselves. And
Mm.
some of the tools to help do that, just from somebody who did that and built like a business from 0 to 6 figures in 2 years. So I'm kind of like, if you're looking to either become an entrepreneur with a lot of magical tools that help along the way, or if you're looking just to make a shift into your passion and your purpose, some of it's like a weekly course that breaks down how to step into that power.
And is it in person or online mostly?
Oh yeah, it's online, and it's going to be a 4-week course. I'm launching it officially in September, but more of that's all going to be on my social media and my website as well.
Okay, so everyone keep an eye out, you know, check out her Instagram feeds and everything, and check out this course. It sounds amazing. I think that it's going to help a lot of people, certainly. And like I always say, this is the blessing for me, comes from the Magical Guide to Bliss. I followed my own guide, and it's brought me to these extraordinary people who are having an incredibly extraordinary journey, and offerings to everyone so that we all can heal from a place of love and find our own magic as as well that's within. Thank you so much, Cardsy B, today. I'm really grateful. I do think that Share Your Joy is a more appropriate theme for us today, so I'm glad it all worked out well. Everything always does unfold as it should, for sure. Final word goes to you. What would you like to share with everyone before they go off into the sunset?
Oh, I just want to say thank you. I do feel so joyful and so grateful. From the moment I met you, I felt that, and I'm grateful to be able to connect with your audience today. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And I really, really do believe that there is so much beauty in you and that you definitely are a blessing to have shared it with everyone. So thank you as well. And as we all go into the rest of June, as we welcome this Embracing the Joy moment, remember, we're all here to be deliberate creators of our lives. Dream big, get inspired, and get ready to manifest the life of your dreams. Wishing you all bliss. Thank you so much, Cardsy B, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.